Hello, my name is Richard Hibbert, and I want to introduce you to a book my wife and I wrote a few years ago called Leading Multicultural Teams. The title kind of speaks for itself. It's particularly written for those who are leading or about to lead a team of people composed, who have different cultural backgrounds. And so we expected, when we went out first as cross-cultural workers to Western Asia, we expected to be part of a team that we later found out people talked about as being a basketball team with the same goals, and they worked interdependently together. That's what we were thinking. And we found that a good number of people from older cross-cultural workers weren't thinking in that term, but more of an people doing their own thing, but supporting each other in doing their own thing. But this book's about teams that work interdependently together on the same task or tasks. So we soon found ourselves across the border in Bulgaria, working with Turkish-speaking gypsies and church planting, and then developing leaders for this growing movement of thousands and thousands of people from a Muslim background coming to faith in Christ. And we found ourselves leading a multicultural team and desperately looked around for help, and there wasn't. Well, I couldn't find anything that was actually written on that. I could find stuff on teams in general, but not about multicultural teams, and particularly not about leading multicultural teams. And we know that from experience that there's a lot of pressure on the multicultural team leader to try and make this thing work out there not in the middle of nowhere, but far, far away, where you may not have much support, and maybe you're the person, area leader or something like that, or field leader is quite a distance away, and you don't get to see them very often. So there's a lot of pressure on the team leader, and so we wrote this book especially for them, but also it'd be very useful for team members who are members of multicultural teams. A lot of the book is general stuff about how multicultural teams work that members have to be invested in and involved in. We've got little sections especially for the team leaders, but it's also for team members. So we wanted to help team leaders and team members. We wanted to help multicultural teams work well together. We see, teams as small groups of people who work together interdependently on the same task with a common task and an understanding of their roles, the different each person's role on the team, and who have good relationships, who are in a healthy community. So the book's organised really around goals, roles, and souls. Okay, that's a bit simplistic, but I like it. I can remember it. The souls is like the foundation of the pyramid, and building healthy multicultural community is where we start, and what you can do to help that happen. Good communication, listening to one another, investing in an emotional bank balance, spending time, much more time than you would in a monocultural team, I think, building those relationships, because it takes time to get to know people from very different cultural backgrounds and appreciate them. It's very different to a monocultural team, and it takes a lot more time to become effective. You'll be doing work from the very beginning, work together on things from the very beginning, but you just need to spend more time getting to understand each other, going through those phases of forming as a team, and then the inevitable storming. Every good team, highly effective team, goes through a period of storming, and possibly revisits that time of storming and conflict, and nutting things out and getting on the same page together so they can go through to norming, working well together, and then finally performing, really doing well together. Really, the relationships are really satisfying, and the team is accomplishing things none of the individuals could ever have done alone. There's synergy. So I started with souls, down at the bottom of the pyramid, and then there's roles, understanding and appreciating what each team member brings to the team, their strengths and their weaknesses. It takes time to get to know people, to get to know those things. We've written about that. And then there's another section on goals. There's the goal of the healthy community. There's also your vision and goals in terms of task. What is it What is that thing that if God poured out his blessing, what would it look like in 10 or 15 years? The place where you are, the people where you are. What would it look like if God poured out his blessing on your team and its ministry? So, yeah, thinking about vision and faith objectives and strategies to get there. And then finally, we have a couple of chapters for team leaders, but specifically for team leaders, talking about qualities needed and skills needed to become or to grow in team leadership. And at the very end, how organizations can support their teams. So I hope you enjoy this book.